everyone. My name is Divya Miller. I am a BISC alumni. I graduated in 2013, and I currently work for a company called AbbVie. They recently acquired Allergan, which I was actually a part of, so I've been a part of a recent acquisition. And I am an associate product director working on a therapeutic treatment for presbyopia. And so presbyopia is an age-related condition where you lose accommodation in your lens, making it really difficult to read up close, which is why many people, once they get around age 40 or older, start to need to wear reading glasses. And for the last 800 years, really, there's been no treatments besides refraction, whether it's through contact lenses, glasses, or surgery to treat this condition. So really excited to be working on a therapeutic that will treat this. So the product I work on is a once a day eye drop that you put in your eye, and you won't need your reading glasses. And my role within the organization is really comprehensive. So everything to do with the launch of this product. So the development of the product, the commercialization of the product. I work super closely with our medical teams, our R&D teams, our sales team, just to start to do the market shaping and bring this product to life. We actually submitted to the FDA on February 22nd. So I'm in the midst of launch prep. I see Robert nodding his head. He probably knows how this goes. So the next really 12 months of my life are going to be pure chaos, but really exciting stuff. And I had thought about med school when I was going to Marquette, and got into the pharmaceutical industry kind of by accident, but immediately fell in love with it. And I'm so happy that I actually pursued this path. And I always talk about how I wish I could talk to students and let them know that there are so many opportunities within the pharma industry and beyond, that if you have a passion for healthcare, if you like science, there are so many opportunities that you can explore. And honestly, even today, I am still learning about new roles within the industry. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So a little bit about myself. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you, Diane, for reaching out. So hopefully that was not information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Did you want me to go next?
Yeah, perfect. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, so I'm a little bit older than Divya. I graduated in 2004. Currently, I'm a clinical trial manager at ICON, which is a contract research organization where we take, usually pharmaceuticals, help them with their clinical trials, and then help them with the FDA process, and then help them bring it to market. So last year I was working with Pfizer, helping the COVID-19 vaccine. This year I'm working also on a COVID-19 vaccine, but this time with Novavax. And this is their first time bringing a drug to market. I remember when I was in biomedical science, I think we were pretty brand new. I think the college started in 1996, and then I think they had their first graduating class in 2000. So I was the fourth graduating class. So it's been a while, but over the last couple of years, I've also been involved with Marquette through the Alumni Association. I'm on their board. So yeah, if you had any questions about what we do and what we're trying to do, it's a good time to ask. I was pre-med when I was there, and then just the way that the cards fell, I'm in pharmaceutical industry, and I think I probably make about 70-80% of what a doctor makes, but I don't have all the overhead, so I think I'm in a good place. And I'm the reason I'm masked is because I'm still outside. So I was having some connection issues. So just because if people are walking around, that's why I'm masked.
Do you guys have any questions, or I've got some questions too. Yeah, go ahead. Rebecca.
What would lead you to this?
I get that it like I heard Divya say that it was like, and they both said it like how it just like came out to be, but I like don't know how you would like get to do the like pharmaceutical stuff. Like where do you go after graduating?
I'll share my experience, and then Robert, feel free to chime in. But so candidly, I was like super distraught after graduation because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I had thought my entire life that I wanted to go into peds and become a doctor and take care of little kids. And I just realized that medical school was not really, at that point, I was just unsure. I was unsure. And so I actually moved back home to Appleton, Wisconsin, and I started working at a pharmacy as a pharmacy technician. And I was also teaching at like a local sports therapy school. I was teaching their like A&P courses, and a couple of other like science classes. It was almost like a junior college type setting. And that was just sort of in this interim period where I was struggling to figure out what my path was, which was really hard for me because I was always somebody who was like, okay, this is what's going to happen in 2 years. This is what's going to happen in 5 years. And all of a sudden it hit me like a brick wall where I was like, oh my God, I don't really know what I'm doing. And I think that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it forced me to be open to options and be open to like, this sounds like so ridiculous, but in general, like just change in life. And I was talking to my dad one day just about like career options. Obviously, it's like not the easiest thing to have just spent 4 years on campus and all of a sudden you're moving back home and you're like in your childhood bedroom with your parents and they're treating you like, you're still in like middle school. I love my family to death, but living, I don't know if I could do that again. And I was talking to my dad and he was like, hey, your little brother, one of his friends' father is in the pharma industry. He's like, maybe just ask him out to coffee and see if that's something that you're interested in. And I had no idea really about the industry. And again, candidly, there's this stigma that's associated with the pharma industry, right? It's always like big, bad pharma. And so I was hesitant, but I was like, okay, I'm going to be open to this opportunity. So I meet with this family friend of ours, and he was actually a sales representative at the time. He told me a little bit about what he does, and it actually sounded really cool. And he did share with me it can be difficult to break into the industry, but he's like, I'll connect you with a couple of my other colleagues. And basically one thing led to another. I ended up connecting with another colleague that worked at a different pharmaceutical company, or a friend of his. And I actually went to like a program that they were conducting for doctors. It was in the neurology space. And it was like the most fascinating, innovative drug, really unique disease state. I'm like, this is super cool. I was super excited. And literally the next day, this guy sent me an email and he's like, hey, we're hiring for an entry-level sales position where you'd be traveling across the country. Like you'd be staying in a city for 3 months at a time, 6 months at a time. It's going to be kind of a spontaneous role. And I had zero sales experience, but I'm like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it out. And I applied, I interviewed, I got the job. One thing led to another. Thankfully, I did well in the role. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely challenging, but I realized that sales wasn't really where I wanted to be. I wanted a little more depth. I wanted to get a little more involved with the science and be more on the innovation side. And I had an opportunity come up to move in-house with that company. And so I moved in-house as an associate product manager. So working on the product, again, kind of that commercialization, marketing, and it's marketing, but it's not what you would think of marketing. It's how you educate doctors on the product, because doctors don't have a lot of time, right? They're busy treating their patients, and it's actually there's really limited ways with how they learn about new therapies, especially in unique disease spaces. And so I just kind of came about this path. definitely had to put in the effort, and I reached out to contacts. I was networking, but also a little bit of just right place, right time. And throughout those first probably 2 or 3 years being in the industry, I was going back and forth in my mind. I mean, I literally would talk to my parents and be like, okay, maybe I'll do this for a year and then think about doing like a post-bac or reapplying to med school or whatever it was. I was like, okay, maybe I'll still do it. And then I kept going down. I'm like, I love this. I love this marriage of business and healthcare, and I'm good at it too. Like I really found my spot, and I'm challenged every day. There's always new things that I'm learning. And now for me, I have, right now I'm in the midst of a launch, so I probably won't do it now, but I would love to go back and do an MBA, because I think that the MBA plus what I learned in the BISC program will be the perfect marriage for helping me continue to grow in my career. And, I'm not afraid to say it. I would love to be a CEO of a pharma company someday. I think it would be really cool to run a business. I think there are a lot of women in this industry, but there could be a lot more in leadership roles. And I feel like I have the opportunity to do something that I love, make sure, like, at the end of the day, I'm still helping people somewhere, somehow. And so that's like what motivates me every day. And so if you ever feel like you're struggling, you don't really know what's going to happen next, things will work out. Reach out to people. Like Robert said, my husband actually is a fellow Marquette alumni, and he is the president of the SoCal Alumni Association. And both of us are always happy to talk to any alum. If I have openings come up within my organization, I'd be happy to recommend you guys, whether it's internships or jobs. I think, like, don't be afraid to reach out to people. People are always happy to help, because they at one point in their lives have been on the receiving end of that. So just, like, don't be afraid to ask for help, reach out to people, learn about new opportunities. I think it's so awesome that Marquette is doing this. Like I said, I talk to my husband about this on a daily basis. I'm like, we need to tell students that there's so many options out there. So that's kind of how I landed where I am today. Robert, I saw you nodding, so I'm sure you have a similar story, but would love to hear your background as well.
I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, we have to switch rooms. We have a couple other presenters, but there'll be another group coming into this room that, Robert, I'm sure they'd love to hear your experiences. So,
well, sorry, Robert, I didn't realize we were switching so quick.
But I think
Interesting that the degree is very versatile, but there are different pathways that you can help people. So that's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, that's super. I always love hearing.
Is it kind of windy? But I don't know how my sound is. Am I too muffled?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all right. I can hear you all right. Yeah, it's fascinating. You alluded to it too, but I feel like you can still have a pretty lucrative career without having to have, tons.
I have a lot of friends that are doctors, and they have huge loans, and then if they did residency or they did a fellowship, they're getting buried in a lot of debt, and they're just like. It's not the end all be all.
It's so sad, actually. My husband, he's 4 years older than me, and he went to law school out in California. He went to SC, and I mean, we have tons of debt because of his law school, and I'm like,
So how did you go from Appleton, Wisconsin to Southern California?
So my husband actually, he came out here for law school, and he's friends with my older brother, so I'd known him for a long time, but we didn't start dating until I actually graduated from Marquette. After I graduated, we reconnected. So we actually did distance for about 2 years before I moved out here. So when I was moved in-house, fortunately everything worked out in the company.
That's what I was going to mention to them, that there's a lot of in-house positions. They have introductory, we call them clinical trial associates, or if they want to kind of just learn, if they don't have that much clinical aspects. But a lot of, I think, our graduates can go straight to becoming a clinical research associate. That's the people that go on the road and then kind of are the monitors and making sure that, everything is FDA compliant and stuff like that. That's what I did for about 5 years before I moved to a management role.
It is really so incredible. I wasn't kidding when I said I think like on a daily basis, I'm learning about new opportunities within even my own organization. I'm like, oh, that would be so great for somebody who is like passionate about science but also enjoys business. It's yeah, it's been fun. I love it. I really love it.
Out here in California, there's a lot of like people that have science, and then also they have like computer science. So you can do that programming. I think Google, Amazon, a lot of people are trying to get into that healthcare space, and if you can merit two different aspects, it can be very exciting.
Yeah.
I
Are
kind of
you
regret not getting a little bit of computer science to be able to program.
Yeah, I know that whole space is just growing. Like the analytics and data side of healthcare is
That's all I'm dealing is with data, because we have to get presented to the FDA to make sure that it's how efficacious. I mean, at least people are learning some of this terminology with COVID, but
right.
I was working on other infectious diseases, and some people haven't heard of those. But I think there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, I think it's been funny too. I obviously COVID has been a horrible situation. It's been very challenging to navigate. But one thing is that I think it's brought to light some of the processes for the industry and like highlighted how important and beneficial the industry can be. And I have to thank you because I actually just got my second Pfizer dose last week. So fully inoculated. Yeah, sounds good. I think Robert just had to take another call, so I can kick it off and introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name's Divya Miller. I graduated from the Biomedical Sciences program in 2013. I am currently an associate product director at a company called AbbVie. I used to work at a company called Allergan, and they were recently acquired. And the product that I work on is a therapeutic treatment for presbyopia. And presbyopia is the age-related condition. As you get older, your lens gets harder and it loses flexibility, you lose accommodation, and you can't read up close. That's why everybody over 40 needs reading glasses. And I'm working on a therapeutic eye drop treatment where you put it in once a day and you no longer need your reading glasses, which is super cool because for the last 800 years, we've only had glasses, contact lenses, or surgery, which is an extreme option to treat it. I have been in the industry since graduation, done a couple of roles, really, really enjoying being in the product management, product space. I'm a part of commercializing the product. I work really closely with medical, R&D, all sorts of folks across the organization, also tons of doctors externally. And I'll be launching this product. We'll be getting hopefully FDA approval in December of this year. So the next 10 to 12 months of my life are going to be super crazy. But hopefully that's inspiration for you guys because there's tons of stuff in the pharma industry. I was sharing with the other group, I had no idea that there were this many roles within the industry that somebody who has a BISC major could get into. I am honestly learning about new opportunities almost on a daily basis, and I've been working in the industry for now like 7 years. I don't know if Robert is back on. If he is, I'll let him introduce himself, but if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I'm a biomedical science graduate from the class of 2004, and then I currently work as a clinical trial manager for with Icon. And last year my partnership was with Pfizer, so we did the COVID-19, which got the emergency use authorization in December. And this year I'm working with Novavax, and we're hoping to get also an emergency use authorization pretty soon. So if you guys have questions, we'll turn it over to you guys because I think that's probably going to be more useful.
So I graduated and had been planning on, or was thinking about medical school, and put that on hold and kind of stumbled upon the industry. I'd always been fascinated with the innovation within the industry, but was a little nervous because of just all the stigma surrounding the pharmaceutical industry. And then I was able to get basically like an entry-level sales position with a small neuroscience pharma company. And I hadn't really had any sales experience in my entire life. But I was trying my best to be open to new opportunities. I was pretty crushed after graduation because I wasn't sure what my path was. And I was always somebody who, was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do a month from now. I know what I'm going to do 5 years from now. And so I got this position, and I really think that because of my BISC background, that's a large part of why I got the role. And it was a unique opportunity. Traveled all over the country for about a year and a half in this position. Really, it was a lot of disease education in a pretty complicated neuro space. And within that year and a half, I'd enjoyed the role and it taught me a lot, but I needed something a little more. And fortunately, was promoted, had an opportunity to move in-house into a product management role. So really just owning a product and making sure that we had education out there for doctors and patients. And that was kind of really what propelled me down this path. And so I think one thing is just don't be afraid to network and reach out to people. People are always really open to helping because at one point or another in their life, somebody else has helped them out. So you guys, I'll send out my contact information. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And during those first couple of years, I had waffled back and forth and like, do I still want to do medical school? And I've just really found my passion. It's this perfect blend of healthcare and science and patient care and the business aspect of healthcare. And it's a lot of fun. You're working in a space where there's constantly new ideas. It's really challenging. And so, yeah, just hustle, reach out to people, work hard. And that's some of my biggest advice. Any other questions?
Cool. So,
Yeah, we have one more.
are you do you work in an environment with like when you're doing product management, do you work with is that like an environment that you work with other people, or is it just like more like a self-centered, well, not self-centered, but like a individual?
So as a product manager, I am working with a lot of different groups. So I'm constantly interacting with R&D, our medical department, our legal department, our compliance department. At the end of the day, the success of the product falls upon my team's shoulders. So this is a job, my role specifically is less clinical. It is definitely more of a team-based role. I have a ton of responsibility, but it is something where you have constant interaction with a lot of people. That's not to say, though, within this industry, there are tons of if you're interested in more research solo type work, there's tons of opportunities for that type of work as well.
Yeah, I would agree. My role is more like regulatory and like safety. So we kind of have to make sure that, for example, any of the side effects that we're hearing with Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, those blood clots, those are things that would have to be reported. So we would rather them have found out earlier during the clinical trial phase rather than after it's been released. But those are the types of things that's kind of what the surveillance is going on. So if you've taken your pharmacology class, either with Dr. Manich or Dr. Baker, he kind of goes over the different phases. So phase 0 is, in vitro glass. If it doesn't, work there, they're not going to put it into any animals, right? If it kills animals, it's never going to go into human beings. Phase 1, they're going to do young, healthy people. Phase 2, target population. Phase 3, that's the stage that a lot of the my stuff is right now. So we're doing a large scale, like 40,000 subject population. So I apologize, there's a fire truck coming by. Yeah, I think it's a role in which that you have a lot of mobility. If you like to travel, we have roles where you can travel and get to see a lot of the country. On my 2 projects ago, I would get to go to like Hawaii every month because I had a site out there, and it was 5-hour trip. Go do my work. In the evening, can just go hang out on the beach and then go fly back home. So if you like that, then that's good. But maybe some people are, if you're trying to start families, then that's probably not going to be the best. Then they have more like home-based things, so you can do things from the home, or they have office-based things where you can interact with your colleagues. So there's a wider variety of things that you can choose from, and just know how your personality is. See what works best. First, so my Marquette degree, biomedical science. I deal with health science all the time. Currently working on the COVID-19 vaccine, so we're dealing with infectious diseases there. So you deal with the microbiology with the viruses. You deal with the pharmacology in developing pharmaceuticals. If you understand physiology and pathology, then you can understand those sciences. So I think it's very it integrates it very well. I'll let Divya talk more.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I am an associate product director working on the pharmaceutical side of the business, so working for a pharmaceutical company. And I'm currently in the midst of launching a product that's actually under FDA review, and it's a presbyopia therapeutic treatment. So instead of needing reading glasses, you can now put a drop in, hopefully once we get approval, once a day, and people who need reading glasses will be able to see up close, and that's pretty much anyone over the age of 40. And in my role, my responsibility is really to make sure that this product is a commercial success. So I work really closely with medical, clinical, regulatory, was really an important played an important role in getting the FDA filing put together. And now it's really sort of starting to prep the market and prepare for launch. And so I think my degree has helped tremendously because I have that clinical science knowledge, which I use on a regular basis. But this role is a perfect marriage of both the business side of healthcare and also still being able to touch the clinical side and knowing at the end of the day that this product is going to help a ton of patients. So that's just a little bit about what I do. Very grateful for my BISC degree and really excited that we are chatting with you guys today because I want you to know that there's so many opportunities out there within the healthcare field beyond just med school, PA school, and some of the other graduate programs.
Like business classes or like business like schooling, like do you have outside of like your BISC degree?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I actually had 0 business classes in undergrad, and it's one of my biggest regrets. I really like everybody I talk to that's going through any type of health sciences degree, whether you're going to be going down that clinical path or not. I think it's really critical to get some of those foundational business classes. And so everything that I've learned so far has been from experience, just by doing. I have taken a couple of courses online, just like general business acumen classes, finance, accounting, forecasting, analytics, marketing courses. And fortunately, through my organization, I've been able to take some stuff. But for me, I think I would actually like to get my MBA in the next couple of years once I get through this launch, because it will be the perfect sort of toolkit to balance with the business side and the healthcare side with my undergraduate degree. And so I would say any sort of business classes that you can get your hands on, if you can fit them into your schedules, you will not regret it. I think it's so helpful no matter what path you go down in life. Things like business will always come up. So that's a great question. So personally, I didn't take any in undergrad. I wish I had.
The other one I would suggest, and I was talking to Divya, is computer science. I mean, I'm out in California. We have, Google, Facebook, all these companies, and everybody's branching into the healthcare industry. And if you can program or can understand that stuff or deal with large databases, it's extremely helpful.
How about, was this something that you guys were always interested in, or did this spawn later, or what basically gained your interest in this field?
I actually went to med school in the Caribbean. I didn't match, so then I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I just started applying, and I found that my talents worked well in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was like, hey, this isn't so bad. And now I've been able to build a career. I'm hoping to get to a Divya stage where I could be a project manager. I think it's a little bit different, but I've been on the road for, you know, many years. I was traveling. I got all these hotel points and airline points, and all my vacations are paid for. I've accrued a lot of PTO over the years, so you know I like to go international, but I'm gonna have to wait for a little bit. But yeah, I think there are a lot of different opportunities. Go ahead, Divya.
Yeah, so I had thought about med school and that didn't work out. And I really thought my life was over when that didn't happen. And I had always been kind of interested in the industry just because of the innovation. That's really where all of these new treatments are created. And I started reaching out to people and was able to find a role just to kind of get my foot in the door, and have been moving on up ever since. And I think, like Robert said, there's just tons of opportunities. And really, my goal would be to continue to move up into leadership. And I would love to become a CEO someday. And I think it's definitely, it's a high bar, but I think it's something that's achievable. And I have to say, a lot of it's due to my background at Marquette. So tons of opportunities. I mentioned this to the other group. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure Robert will also say the same thing. I think we're always happy to help talk a little, talk to you guys, let you know in more detail about our experiences. And then if any other opportunities pop up, I'm always happy to help a fellow Marquette alum or student. You guys aren't alum yet. Soon.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Unfortunately, we have to hop into a different room, but thank you guys all for the great information.
Classroom coming in. Hi,
Oh,
everybody.
Hello, we made it. How are you guys?
Hey guys.
Hello. So we
I
got
don't even
this.
recognize which building this is.
Kramer?
I know we're in Kramer. Yeah, we're in that
Yeah.
big Kramer building that we would have anatomy in and stuff. So.
Oh, I mean, at least it's
that
all
big
new desks.
classroom. So we got 4 BISC students here with lots of questions for you, but I think it'd be awesome if you could start introducing yourself and what you do.
Sure.
Yeah, Robert, go ahead.
I'm a clinical trial manager at Icon, so we help manage the different phases of pharmaceuticals. So this past year, I've been working with Novavax, and this will be their first drug coming to market with the COVID-19. Last year, I worked with Pfizer and got their COVID-19 vaccine through, and we got it through successfully to the FDA. So we're really proud of that, and I think a lot of Americans are happy too. Go ahead, Divya.
Yeah, hey everyone. I am a 2013 BISC grad. I am an associate product director with a company called AbbVie, a really big pharma company. I originally started with Allergan. They were recently acquired. I'm currently working on a therapeutic treatment for presbyopia. So you know how when you get towards 40, everybody starts to need reading glasses. Well, this drop, hopefully if approved, you'll only need to put it in once a day and you wouldn't need your reading glasses. So really excited to be working on such an innovative therapeutic treatment, and probably wouldn't be where I am today without my BISC degree. And there's tons of opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry. So really excited to be here to talk to you guys today.
Wow, that's awesome, both of your jobs. So I'll open it up to you guys with questions. Yep, you can go first.
How did you guys get involved, and how did you know that pharmaceutical was the right route for you?
I think pharmaceutical is huge. I think it's, several billion-dollar industry, each pharmaceutical and all their supporting things. So there's a lot of opportunities for people that have clinical knowledge, clinical interests. So if you like to work with patients, but you don't want to, be in med school for 4 years and then residency for 3 to 5 years, this is a good way to get your foot in the door, be able to use your clinical knowledge, the terminology versus a layperson versus what you guys have. You guys will have a huge advantage. when I started out, I would travel as a clinical research associate. So I traveled all over the United States. Last year or 2 years ago, my 49ers were in the Super Bowl, so I made work fly me to Miami so that I could go. So I worked all week, and then that weekend I had them fly me to the Super Bowl, and then I went to the game, and then Sunday night, Monday morning, I flew back, had the company fly me back to work. But so it just allows you a lot of flexibility to do different things.
So how did
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how did you, Robert, go from a BISC undergrad to a CRA? Did you
So you can go do a clinical trial associate. That's kind of like their introduction thing. They have so you can learn about how the different phases. You kind of more dealing with more paperwork and supporting, and that's more an in-house role. And then you can grow to a travel one. They have programs that does that.
So my path was, I had thought about med school, and I, after graduation, realized that maybe I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure about what I was going to do. And it was quite overwhelming at the time because I think, like many of you, we're all generally planners and have figured out what we're going to do in life. And I had always been fascinated with the industry, but didn't really know much about it. And I started reaching out to some folks to see what opportunities were out there. There's so many of them. And I actually started in a sales role. And I was really hesitant at first because of the stigma with the industry. And I was like, I've never done anything sales related in my entire life. But what I found in that role was that it was really just a lot of education. It was a lot of disease state education. I was working with a pretty novel product in the neuro space. And because of my BISC background, I think that's a large part of the reason why I got that sales job, is because I could have those conversations with the doctors. And within about 1.5 years of that role, I realized that I wanted more. I loved the industry, but the sales role wasn't really my, it was fun, but I just needed a little more stimulation, to be honest, right? This is what this is about. And fortunately, I was promoted and I moved in-house into a product management role as an associate product manager, and really just owning the product, right? So educating doctors and patients on the product, on the disease state, working with doctors, working with clinical, working with medical, working with regulatory. So really, product managers are responsible for the success of a drug, right? At the end of the day, it falls on you. You own the business. And so with that role, I just really fell in love with the industry. And I realized that it was the perfect blend of still staying connected to healthcare, being able to use my skills, knowing I'm helping patients at the end of the day, but also tapping into this set of like business skills that I never really knew I had, but I'm actually learning to this day. I'm like learning every day that this is something that I really enjoy. And I think Robert said it earlier, I'm still like learning about new opportunities within the pharmaceutical industry. And it's every time I like hear about a new role, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I wish I could go tell a BISC student about this, because there's so much out there beyond just your standard sort of clinical doctor, PA, nurse practitioner, whatever it may be. And it's also a lucrative industry. So you can still do what you love. And right at the end of the day, making money is important. We all need to have roofs over our heads, and there's still, you can still do.
You got to pay back those loans, right?
Yeah. Got to pay back those loans. Marquette is an expensive school. But it's just, there's tons of opportunities. And now for me, because I didn't have any of that foundational business education at Marquette, I would love to go back and do an MBA at some point after my product launches, because I don't have time right now. But I think that would be the perfect blend of skill sets for my current role, and then also hopefully to help propel me into leadership roles as I continue to grow in my career. So lots of opportunities. Didn't really know that pharma was for me, kind of figured it out as I went along. So I think be open to change. I know it's hard, but I think each step you take, you're gonna feel really happy and excited about where you're headed. Long-winded answer.
No, that was great. Did you have any questions you want to ask? Or did I kind of get answered with the rest? Okay. Any other questions, guys? Not too much? Okay. I did have a question. So did you know when you graduated that this was kind of where you're going? Or were you just like, let me get some job and then go from there sort of thing?
Yeah, I moved back home. I moved back to Appleton, Wisconsin, was growing up, like living in my childhood bedroom, working at a pharmacy as a pharmacy tech and teaching at like a sports therapy school. And I honestly was like pretty distraught. Like, I'll be real with you guys. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And it was really challenging for me to like deal with, but I had to. That's how life goes sometimes. And so I just started reaching out to people to learn more about the industry. So I think networking is really, really important. Like, I've learned the value of that over the last couple of years. And so again, I had no idea that this is where I would end up. If someone told me this is where I would be, I'd be like, you're crazy. I live in California now, which is awesome. But network with people. And if you graduate and you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. It's okay. It's a normal feeling, and you'll figure it out as you go along.
I would really agree with that. I would say that, there's not always just like a straight line from here to there. So I was just telling Divya, like, when I was one of the very early BISC graduates. I'm the class of 2004. So when we had like our first graduating class was probably like class of 2000. So I was just the fourth class. We had a couple of people came back that were in med school. They hadn't even graduated med school yet, but we never heard from like everybody else of what other careers there were. So I think you guys get the benefit of hearing from us, now that we've been around for, almost 25 years now. Look at that. What a crazy time it is. And then you guys will benefit from us, trailblazing for you guys and providing you guys opportunities. Now, I didn't even know this until I started just getting emailed like crazy. But you guys have to start using your LinkedIn, because recruiters are on that thing all the time. They're scanning keywords, and you just have to put your skills in there, and there'll be headhunters, or the jobs will be just open that way. So
take advantage of LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to reach out to people, even if you're like, if you see someone pop up on LinkedIn, you're like, oh, that looks like a cool opportunity, shoot them a message. You're not gonna, there's no harm that's gonna be done. I'm happy to provide my contact information too, if you guys ever want to chat more. People have helped me out, and so I'm always looking for ways to pay it forward.
And my email is robert.leung@gmail.com. It should be on the things. I'm also, okay, good. My name is Robert Leung. I'm a BISC alumni from the class of 2004, so many, many moons ago. Currently, I'm a clinical trial manager at Icon. I'm working on a COVID-19 vaccine with Novavax. So last year I worked with Pfizer, and we got the COVID-19 vaccine. I have a lot of years of experiences in infectious diseases. And I'll let Divya introduce herself.
Hey guys, my name is Divya Miller. I graduated from the BISC program in 2013. I'm currently an associate product director for a company called AbbVie, so a large pharmaceutical company. And I'm currently working on a product that's in phase 3 of development. So we've submitted to the FDA, hoping to get approval in December. And it's a really cool product. It is a therapeutic eye drop treatment for presbyopia. As people get older, usually around age 40, you start needing reading glasses because you can't see up close. And so this is an eye drop that you can put in once a day, which is great because right now the only thing to treat it are glasses or surgery or contact lenses.
Oh my God.
Super cool, really fun. And so just really excited to be here today to talk to you guys.
Could you share with us how you got into the fields that you're in now, and what was your route and what you did while you were here at Marquette to lead you to where you are now?
Sure. Maybe I'll start. did it the old-fashioned way where I had my resume and just send it to different places. But now that's a thing of the past. Like I was telling the other group, everybody has to have everything on LinkedIn. There are headhunters on there. So as much as you can put and sell yourself in like what classes and what type of abilities you have, you guys have very marketable skills. So whether you guys are taking more introductory, in-house things, or you want to be on the road and travel and support the staff that way, or, usually they don't hire somebody that just graduates to become a manager. They want somebody to have a little bit of experience, but, I think that at least you guys have a lot of the clinical language down. That's not something that they have to teach you guys. So I think that's a really good support. I'm using my microbiology, my physiology path, all that stuff in my line of work. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Diane. I think, so for me, I graduated, wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life, had always thought about med school, and realized that was maybe not going to happen, and it was devastating, and I was really stressed out. Moved back home with my parents in my childhood bedroom in Appleton, Wisconsin, and started working at a pharmacy as a pharmacy tech and teaching at a local sports therapy school, all of their health science classes, just sort of in the interim while I tried to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I'd always been interested in the industry, but wasn't really sure how to get my foot in the door. So I started networking with some people that I knew, some family friends, and networking super important. They put me in touch with somebody. I went to a presentation that was being done for some doctors, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing stuff. It was in the neuro space. And sure enough, the person that I had connected with literally the next day sent me an email, and he said, hey, I just got this email from HR that we have an open position for an entry-level sales role where you'd be traveling all across the US. And I was a little hesitant at first because of the stigma with the industry, and I had no sales experience. I'm like, I don't know really how I'm gonna sell, but sure, I went for it. I applied, went to the interview, and I got the job. And I think a large part of that was because I had my BISC background and I could speak to the data, I could speak to the science, and I could go in and have confident conversations with doctors in that role. I really learned it was not really selling, but it was more about education on the disease state and the unique product profile. And so I did that for about a year and a half, and still was learning. I'm still learning about the industry, even though I've been in it for quite a few years now. But I realized that the sales role wasn't really, it was great. I learned a lot, but I needed some more. I needed some more stimulation. I needed something that was a little more challenging. And I got promoted to move in-house to take on a product management role. So I was an associate product manager. And really, product management is you are responsible for the product. At the end of the day, everything falls under you. You are the one who, if it's a success, you get all the glory. If it's a failure, then it's all on you. And so I just continued to grow in my career that way. I've worked, this is now the third company I'm with, and I've continued to progress, and now I'm working on this incredible product. And really, I think it's just every day I'm learning about new opportunities, and the sky's the limit. And I have my sights set on leadership. I would love to someday be a CEO. It's super aspirational, but I think it's also achievable. And so I would say just be open-minded. Sometimes things aren't going to work out the way you thought they would, and that's okay. That's something that I've learned, and it's a tough pill to swallow. But just know that your BISC degree is super valuable. There's tons of roles. If you like the business side, product management is great. If you like the clinical side, there's tons of opportunities within the research space. And so, be okay with change. Use your LinkedIn, utilize your network. It's so important. Reach out to people. They're always happy to help. And be okay with the fact that you might not know what you're going to do next, and it's going to work out.
What degree?
You also said what we did while we were at Marquette. I was in biomedical science. I also did the Les Aspin program, so that kind of gave me exposure to the legislature and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things at Marquette, and sometimes they don't advertise it as well as I think they should. But there's if you guys can do study abroad or do other things, it's hard with the BISC degree because you have to take things sequentially. But if you do some summer schools, then you can squeeze things in. So that'd be my recommendation is take advantage of all the different things and just talk to people.
Yeah, I would say the other thing too is I didn't take any business classes at Marquette, and I wish I did, because no matter what industry you go in, what path you decide to take, I think some of those foundational business skills are just really valuable for life in general. I would love to go do my MBA, but if you have the room in your schedules just to take some of those entry level communications classes, I know we always joke about those comm majors. I know we joke about it, but now I'm like, okay, there is some value to some of those classes. So I share that because it's we're all peers, we can talk about it, but I think there is definitely value. You don't have to take a ton of them, but just if you have an opportunity, or at least talk to some business majors or comm majors and break out of your BISC bubble.
BISC bubble, right.
The other one I would suggest is computer science. If you could do some programming. I'm out in the West Coast. We have Google, Facebook, all these, and they're moving into the health industry. So if you can speak both languages, your degree becomes that much more valuable. And then you guys can come visit me.
Thank you both for doing this.
So much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
All right, hello, you got our last group of this Let's Talk About Non-Clinical Careers Night. If you could go ahead and introduce yourselves, maybe tell us a little bit about what you guys do, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Robert Leung. I'm the class of 2004. I'm a clinical trial manager at Icon. So I'm working in partnership with a pharmaceutical, Novavax, and trying to get their COVID-19 vaccine to market.
Hey everyone, my name is Divya Miller. I graduated from the BISC program in 2013. I am an associate product director with a company called AbbVie, a large pharmaceutical organization. I work in our ophthalmology division, and I'm currently working on a launch product, a therapeutic treatment for presbyopia. So you know how everybody, once they get to around the age of 40, starts to need reading glasses. Hopefully, once approved, this is a drop that you can put in your eye and you would no longer need your reading glasses. So really excited to talk to you guys today. I also recognize this room. So this is like, taking me back. We were just in Kramer.
Anyone want to start off with questions? How did you guys get into your fields?
So I actually went to med school, but I didn't match. So I was like, what am I going to do? I have all these loans. I need to start repaying them soon. So I just put my resume out there and put, what type of clinical skills and things that I did. But, I had them also from BISC, but, with medical school, you have a little bit more in touch. And then I just was doing paper resumes and just applying by email. But nowadays, that's old. Everybody has to do everything on LinkedIn now. And, you have to sell yourself on LinkedIn. And I think if you guys work with career services and, what keywords people are looking for, headhunters, I get, 20 emails a day from different headhunters just because of, what I have put up there. And I haven't even put up that much. But that's what my suggestion is, that you guys have to, this is the electronic world we live in, and you have to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I am similar to Robert somewhat. I had thought about med school, but I didn't go to med school. And right after graduation, I was in a rut. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Because I had always thought about med school. I never really considered any other career options. I actually moved back home to Appleton, Wisconsin, was living with my parents, working at a pharmacy and teaching at a sports therapy school. And I was like, this is not sustainable. I cannot do this forever. And started to think about just other options within the healthcare field. And I had always been fascinated with the innovation within the pharma industry, but was a little tentative just because of the stigma, right? There's always like this big bad pharma sort of mindset. But started reaching out to a couple of people within the industry to try and learn more and get my foot in the door. And I was fortunate enough to get a position actually within sales, which I would have never considered in my entire life because I had never really had any sales experience. But it was an awesome opportunity, and it was less about selling, but more about educating. And I think that's where my BISC degree really helped me get my foot in the door. It was because I could have those confident conversations with doctors about disease state, about the product. And I did that for about a year and a half, but I needed something a little more. It wasn't really as stimulating. I needed something that was going to challenge me. And I was fortunate enough to get promoted, and I actually moved in-house into an associate product management role. So basically that's where you own a product, you own a therapeutic, and you're responsible for the success of it. So you're doing education, you're working with doctors, you're working with regulatory, legal, compliance, medical, R&D, to keep a product going or bring it to market. And so that was kind of my path. And I fell in love with the industry. I found that I loved being able to stay connected to healthcare, still know at the end of the day that I was helping a patient somewhere, somehow. But I also learned that I had this business acumen that I never really knew I had, and I love it. So it was just the perfect blending of skills. So I get to work with tons of people, stay connected to healthcare, and now I'm getting to launch a super cool product in hopefully 8 months.
Uh-oh, insider information.
Yeah, that's public. That's all public.
All right.
We submitted our NDA. There was a press release that went out. But yeah, so sort of a long-winded answer, but I think we've talked about it with some of the other groups. I think sometimes things don't go as planned, and it's okay. Just you have to try and embrace it and be open to opportunities, because you never know what doors are going to open. And I think, like, in my role today, I'm still interacting with so many people in the industry. I'm like, oh my God, that's such a cool job. I had no idea that it existed, and it would be such a great role for somebody with a BISC background to go into. So kind of figured it out as I went along. And I love it. So if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out to me. I think Robert said it. LinkedIn is really important. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I think people are always willing to help out and provide guidance when they can.
I mean, they have like what we call like clinical trial assistants. So those are people that are basically fresh college graduates, and that's their first experience, and then do that for like a year or two, and then they can move into become a clinical research associate, or they can move into data management. There's so many different areas that you just need to get your foot in the door. And with your BISC degree, at least the science portion isn't going to be the hard part for you to understand. If you had to go in straight from like a business or a communications background, you're going to have to learn a new foreign language of the medical terminology. But at least with your BISC degree, that's not going to be the case. You guys already know it, or at least you have familiarity with it, and you can always dive deeper. Hope that helps.
And then I think we do have some questions.
I was going to ask, what aspect of your job are you most proud of?
I think saving lives. Getting a COVID vaccine out there that's 90% real world effective, and then our Novavax one, we're showing efficacy against the South African variant, the Brazilian variant, and the UK one. So even if you had gotten your shot with Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca, you might need another one next year because of whatever is the predominant variant. So I think that we're always going to be learning and getting. I think saving lives is super important. But this is the first time I think people are really hearing about our industry, because COVID has really shaped your guys' education and everybody's lives around you.
Yeah, well said. I've had the pleasure of working across a couple of different therapeutic areas in neurology and ophthalmology, and I think it's the patient at the end of the day, just knowing that I'm improving. I'm not saving lives, but improving lives. I think sight is, this product that I'm working on, sight is so important, and it's something we take for granted. And so providing there's been no treatment innovation in the space that I work in for 800 years, right? We've had glasses, and then recently we've had surgical options, which are pretty invasive. So just knowing that I'm helping patients, it's a pretty proud feeling, and it's what motivates me every day to come in and do my job. It's a grind, but it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool to kind of see your work come to fruition. Like Robert, I got my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine last week, and so it's really cool to just see things come full circle.
Because your field is always changing, do you guys always have to like learn things or like keep up with the new science articles and stuff, or is it kind of just,
I mean, we get a protocol that says like what we have to do, and they kind of given background to the disease. They given how this particular pharmaceutical, or we call it an investigational product, will interact and hopefully alleviate the disease. Same thing if you're going to be working with medical devices, if we have our biomedical engineers that are designing those type of things. So once people invent these things, we got to make sure that it works in the real world. So that's where my job comes in. Like Divya is her company is the one that's coming up with it, but she'll partner with one of my companies, and we'll help them find all the different hospitals, different places to test it out in the real world and make sure that it works before we get the FDA approval.
Yeah, and I think you do have to stay up to date on, like for me, for example, I'm going to be the first, potentially, if approved, the first therapeutic treatment, but there's, other treatment options out there, and there's other competitors. So we're constantly having to stay up to date on the changing market. I think that's something that, I'm reading articles every day. I get all of the different ophthalmology and optometry publications, and I'm flipping through those just on my own to see what's going on. So I think you can, depending on the roles you pursue, you can have as much exposure as you want or as little exposure. I also work really closely with our medical and R&D teams, so I'm constantly having dialogues about the latest papers, and then with our KOLs, our key opinion leaders. So those are doctors that are well known within the their therapeutic area. So yeah, you're kind of always having to stay up to date on the latest in my role, which is kind of fun. It's cool to see what's going on.
And we used to, prior to COVID, we would partner with the pharmaceutical industry, and then we would get all the primary investigators and their staff, and we would meet together to teach them the protocol. But now everything is being done online, so it's not as fun to talk to people through this Zooms and Teams. We used to be able to get to interact more, but now everything is becoming electronic, and it's for everybody's safety. So it is important still to be able to balance both.
All right, awesome. Well, are there any more questions? No? All right, well, guys, thank you so much. That was our last session. I hope that you guys were able to, enjoy this time talking to students who might be in your shoes one day. Also, students, thank you guys. I hope you guys got something out of it. But yeah, that's it.
And you could give the students our contact information. I think I have my phone number and my email. And if they connect through LinkedIn, however works, just let us know what we can do to support you guys.
Yeah, likewise. I think we're always happy to help. We've been given help in the past, so always looking for ways to pay it forward. And if you're too shy to ask questions in a group setting, that's totally okay. Just shoot us a note, and we'll be happy to talk to you. One other thing that we've mentioned to a couple of the other groups is, candidly, the careers within the industry are pretty lucrative too. So it's always a taboo topic, but I don't think it should be. I think it's important because it's our livelihood. So just so you know, it is, you can do pretty well financially with careers within the industry. So just an important thing to note.
Even the starting positions, like I was telling you, the clinical trial associate, getting right out of college, that's probably 40 to 50. And then if you move over to clinical research associate 1, that's 60 to 70. And within 3 to 5 years, you can be making, 90 to 100,000, which is, pretty good salary for most places. So I didn't tell that to any of the other groups, but she brought it up, so I thought I would just share that.
Good to know. We got that secret insider stuff going on here. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your night wherever you're coming from. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Good luck.